Hey, what's up? My name is Chihiro, and welcome to my kitchen. When I used to work in Japan, my colleagues and I would be forced to go to these izakayas after work. Oh, that is why I'm wearing this ill-fitted blazer to remind myself of the good old days when I used to have a job. It's totally not because I just watched Hawkeye and Haley Steinfeld looks amazing in this black tux, and I'm just trying to copy her style. Well, anyway, one of my favorite dishes from these izakayas is the garlic rice with yakiniku, a Japanese word for grilled meat. We'll first create our rice with the perfect blend of spices and use our delicious homemade Japanese barbecue sauce to pan grill the meat until reaching blissful tastiness. Well, let's begin, yeah? Get 1.5 cups of rice, 300 milliliters of chicken stock, 1 teaspoon of soy sauce, and 1 3/4 teaspoon of oil. First, put the unwashed rice into a regular pot. Unwashed rice, what? I'll explain why in a bit. In a separate bowl, pour and mix the other ingredients. Then put it into the pot. Set to high heat and bring it to a boil. Now in most Japanese rice dishes, you need to wash the rice to get that fluffiness. But in this case, we're going for a texture that we Japanese call pari pari, which basically means like the opposite of fluffiness, like a certain amount of flakiness. Unwashed rice retains the starch exterior, which really combines well with our seasoning to give us that putty texture, which is much more appropriate for this dish. Now that it's boiled, simmer on low heat for 13 to 15 minutes. I'm gonna use the oven stove so we can prepare our sauce on our island. Alright, now let's prepare our sauce ingredients. Get 250 milliliters of mirin, 150 milliliters of soy sauce, 1 3/4 tablespoon of honey, half an apple. I'm using Fuji apples to make it more Japanese. 3 cloves of garlic, 15 grams of ginger, 15 grams of Korean chili paste, and 1 3/4 tablespoon of sesame oil. First, put the soy sauce and the sesame oil into a bowl. Cut the apple in half, then into about 6 pieces to make it easier for grating. Make sure to cut out the core and peel off the skin. Now peel off the skin of the garlic and the ginger, and grate them into the bowl. Now put everything else except the mirin into the bowl and mix it up. Now get a pot and pour the mirin and set it to high heat to bring it to a boil. Once it boils, lower the heat a little bit and continue heating for an additional minute, then turn the heat off. This gets rid of the alcohol smell of the mirin. Now add the mixture from the bowl into the pot and mix it up. Turn the heat back on to bring it to a boil. Once it starts to boil, make sure you scoop out the foam. Let's do a little taste test. Perfect. It's been about 14 minutes for me, so I'm gonna go check up on the rice. Looking good, but just turn off the heat and leave it alone for about 5 minutes. Then stir it up a little bit like this. A little burnt here and there, but a little crunchiness is actually good. Before we cook it further on a pan, dice up 2 cloves of garlic. I like to dice it up in a grid-like way like this to get an even shape before cutting it further. But do whatever method that works for you. Get a fresh pan and set it to low-medium heat. Add a dash of oil, then our diced garlic, and 10 grams of butter. Stir until the butter is fully melted. Then add our rice into the pan and stir it up. For even more flavor, add 1 tablespoon of our homemade sauce and keep on stirring. We are not trying to make fried rice, so the general goal is just for all the seasonings to intertwine with the rice. Looking good. Let's do a little taste test again. So good. Very putty. Now put the finished rice onto a bowl or a plate or just whatever you're using. If you just want a delicious garlic rice, you can stop right here. But I think we now know that I can't resist good meat in my mouth. So for now, cover it with foil while we prepare the meat. I'm using 100 grams of pre-cut short ribs as it complements this dish well, but you can use other cuts. Add a dash of salt and pepper. Get a new pan and set it to high-medium heat and add a bit of oil. Place the meat onto the pan and cook all sides. The meat's pretty tiny, so it should be finished off in no time at all. Looking good! Then add your desired amount of our homemade sauce. Shake up the meat until all sides are covered. Then gently put it on top of our garlic rice. And pour the remaining sauce onto the meat. I'm gonna sprinkle some parsley flakes and shichimi. And finished! So good. Like all the spices, seasoning, the texture is perfect. Now I'll tell you a little secret about my videos. You know how I'm like eating at the end and I look so happy and I say things like, oh, it's so delicious or umai or whatever? Well, about half the time it's actually disgusting. And it's definitely not because of my cooking. It's actually fine when I cook it without filming. Yeah, I'm a one-man show, so what is going on is while I'm like doing all these cooking like processes and such, I'm constantly moving the camera around, changing the angles, the zooms. Oh, sometimes the batteries run out or the camera overheats, blah blah blah. And the whole filming process takes like couple hours, like 4 or 5 hours straight. As you can imagine, the food, when it's been that long, it kind of gets bad. At the end, like sometimes I'm able to salvage it or I like film in pieces, but for the most part, it's kind of like a Frankenstein of different processes put together, filmed at separate times. So, what I'm eating is actually, it looks fine, but the taste, unfortunately, is not nearly as good as it could be if I just cooked it on my own or just cooked it for somebody else. So that's sort of acting. But in my defense, a lot of cooking channels and cooking shows do the same thing. It's kind of inevitable. But everything is all actually correct. You will be able to make good food. It's just, I just find it funny sometimes. It's just like, wow, I guess it's all soggy now, but I'm gonna pretend like I love it. And the reason why I'm like really happy right now is this, what I just made this. Like I made this in one go. I changed like how I film things. And so this was able to like be so smooth. It's still warm, it's still delicious. So I actually am genuinely like enjoying eating this. So I hope with this new technique I'm using, I'm able to actually enjoy my food for real when I'm showing it to you guys. Oh, I almost forgot the most important part. Excuse me for a sec. I'm back. Of course, you need to have beer with my favorite Japanese pub food. So in Japan, we say kanpai. Oh. Even though I have very fond memories of being in these izakayas back in Japan, it's kind of like a love-hate relationship. So in Japan, like you're expected to hang out with your coworkers after work, often at these places, which sounds great if you like your coworkers. If you do like a Google search on drunk Japanese businessman or whatever, like you'll see a lot of pictures of like passed out. Alright, my crypto portfolio is going down the shitter, so I'm gonna try to not be distracted. What was I saying? Oh, right. So that was often me. Like, I would be so tired from work, and then I have to go hang out with these people at these pubs. You know, the food's great, obviously. Like, I made this. I wouldn't have made it if I didn't like the food. But you're often more or less forced to drink, especially if you're a dude. Often I like drank way too much, and I was one of those people that you see on the images that are just passed out like on the subways or on the street. I felt like that's just too much, so I'm glad I'm out of that. I'm currently unemployed, and I really don't want to go back to that, so please help me out by liking this video and subscribing to my channel. Okay, it's tanking, alright? You know, I gotta attend this, so until next time, bye.